Hey guys, lots of people have asked me to do a tutorial on mastering and helping them with the mix down and making a song sound a bit more finished and polished. So that's what I'm going to do here quickly. I'll only use Logic plugins just because I just think they're a nice simple way to show people that you can do some mastering with your own computer software plugins. Works pretty good. I don't use Logic or anything usually to master my songs, but these are a good way just to show that it can be done, and it's more of the settings and the principles that you need to make the mastering process happen for you. So here's a clip. At the moment there's nothing on the master bus. So here's this song now. Okay, I have all my sounds. This is a huge part of making mastering a very easy process. I have all my sounds sent to 5 buses. So my kicks are going to the kick bus, snares and claps to the snap bus, hats and percussion to the hats bus. Those 3 buses then go to the drum bus, and then all my synths in that Compressor loop all go to this bus here. So my whole song is now controlled just by these 5 faders. It makes mixing and balancing so much easier, so much faster. So please get into the habit of using buses if you can. It's really good. Okay, now first thing we need to check is on the master channel is where the mix is peaking at. So it's into the red 0.9, which is not good. Obviously we don't want it to be into the red. We want to leave ourselves with some headroom before we start putting the mastering plugins on. We want the mix to be anywhere, I personally like it, anywhere between -5 to -3 dB. So now to get it to that point, I just simply click on my 5 buses like so, and I'll just drag the fader down, and eventually this will be leaving the master output at 0. This eventually will be in that range which I need it to be. If you just click on that, it just resets it, so you can recheck. There you go. So I brought everything down by sort of 4 dB, I think it was. And now I'm at I'm at -3.7 dB, which is excellent. A bit of headroom, and now I can do some mastering. So I've already done the mastering a bit here because it's just going to speed the video up. A low cut, I always do a low cut here. Anything under 28 is just filtered out. Compressor, I'll just briefly explain this just to keep it short. The attack is at 56. Just copy the settings if you like, or apply them to your own plugin, whichever one you're using. This is no preset. This is just how I've programmed it. Usually I go for a slower attack, so all the transients can get through without being squashed by the compressor. Usually I have a reasonably fast release because this compressor on the master bus is working pretty hard. So if you've got a release that's too slow, the track actually starts to have this overall pump, which isn't very good for the whole track. Maybe for a bass line, but for the whole track I usually have the release pretty quick. So so the compressor is ready to react and engage for the next bit of audio signal that it processes. Ratio, we're only just doing a gentle soft compression and gelling everything together on this master bus. So for a ratio, somewhere between 2:1 to 4:1 is fine. Don't do any more than that, because otherwise things will start to sound over compressed and you lose all your your punch and your dynamic. The threshold, like I say, the main thing is going to be gain reduction. You're looking for about anywhere between 1 to 3 dB of gain reduction. Any more than that and you'll be over compressing it. I'll show you that in a second. So it just happened to be the threshold here is -12.5. So this is the point here when the compressor actually starts to work. And obviously once the signal reaches the threshold here of minus 12.5 dB, the knee tells the compressor how fast to work. So if you've got a really fast knee, okay, once the signal hits this, the compressor is going to engage and compress the signal really quickly. But if you've got a soft knee, once the audio signal hits the threshold, it's a little slower and more sort of transparent to react. So for the master bus, definitely use like a slower knee setting. A soft knee, a lot of limiters will say, a soft knee setting. So choose that for mastering. That's that. Linear phase EQ. If you've got access to a linear phase one, try and use the linear on the master bus, because it's very confusing how it works. But in a way, it's when you're doing work on the EQ and when you're doing boosting and cutting and shifting, it's able to sort of reduce phase created by the EQ, because it shifts it shifts all the frequencies by the same amount. But don't worry too much about it. If you've got one, use it for mastering. With this particular song, again, I just cut the low end just to be safe. I just run the 275. I gave it a boost of 1.9, just because in my analyzer it was actually lacking a little bit in that zone, and plus there's a bit of warmth to be had from here. In fact, I'll just show you. I just sort of bypass that down to 0, like so. Through here, you can see it actually loses a little bit of its power, so I just boosted it just to make it sound a little more solid towards the low end and give it a bit of warmth. Again, I just did some boosting at 2000, and I gave it a high shelf here at 8800 or 8.8, whichever way you want to call it. I'm a big fan of boosting the high end just to give it a bit of sheen and sparkle. Usually in other people's songs, if I'm mastering other people's songs, of course I will do a lot more cutting and removing frequencies to make it sound a little more open and less muddy. But in this particular song that I was mastering, which is my song, none of the synths actually overlap each other. They just all chop and change. So in this example, I didn't need to do any removing or cutting, because no synths were actually playing at the same time apart from just the one. So that made my job easy. And there you go. And the limiter, of course. Sorry, finally the limiter. All I've done is just put a limiter on, and because the rest of my mix is all done really well, and I had lots of headroom down here in the master, I've actually just put the gain to 5 dB, and you'll hear the difference. So this is with the plugins not working, and then I'll play it through with them on. So there you go, there's a little insight on how you can sort of get your tracks ready to send out to labels or anything like that, and I hope that's helped out a few people. Alright, thanks guys.